My name is Patrick Smith, the North America representative for the UCD College of Business, and I'm really excited to be joined today by Joey Puglessi, who's an incoming student to our MSc in Marketing Practice. So Joey, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, and really excited to be with you today and just kind of hear a little bit more about your background, your experience, as well as what you're looking forward to coming to the UCD Smurfit School.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I guess I can introduce myself briefly. Like Patrick said, my name is Joey. I'm from the state of Michigan here in the United States, kind of in the Midwest region. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Cincinnati, where I got degrees in marketing and finance and graduated in the spring of 2020. I'm currently working in Washington, D.C. in a finance and procurement role for the United States Air Force, which has been a really, really good position for me. But I've always wanted something kind of more. I've always really wanted international experience. And during my undergraduate career, I was a student athlete, which was awesome. I really enjoyed that, but it kind of limited me from getting that abroad experience. So I kind of thought, if not now, then when? And I was very lucky to land on a school that I think will be really good for me.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to have you, Joey. So we're just going to go through just a few questions about obviously your background, your experience, but then also what you're excited about with the program coming up in Smurfit, and why you decided to look abroad, and why you landed on this specific course in Smurfit. So you kind of talked a little bit about your undergrad experience, doing marketing, and then kind of the international component of this degree is something that really sets it apart from obviously other degrees in the States. So, why were you specifically looking abroad for your graduate experience?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it was a mix of a few things. My undergraduate business school had a lot of long-term international programs, but due to my demanding schedule as a student and as an athlete, I was never able to fully take advantage of that. So on top of that, I've always had this dream to live outside the US, and the pandemic really exacerbated that goal of mine. So yeah, I started looking around December of last year at different options. Don't get me wrong, the US has a lot of awesome universities, but I think there's a lot of value in pursuing a degree outside of your own country. Completing your studies while being immersed in a completely new culture not only challenges you to learn within the scope of your own program, but it also pushes you to think differently, meet people with different backgrounds, maybe travel a bit, and overall just give you a very different perspective on life in general, which I think is pretty important. I wish it was more normal for people to take advantage of stuff like this, but I understand it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge. And not to mention you can really benefit professionally, from networking and stuff like that, and everything that sets you apart from other graduate students by going abroad.
Absolutely. And, when you're kind of looking abroad and you're seeing the different options, there's a lot of great countries, a lot of great schools out there. What kind of led you to Ireland? Did you have any experience with Ireland in your background, or was it just kind of an organic search when you found Ireland and eventually UCD?
Yeah, it was definitely very organic. So when I began that research process, I was looking in Australia, a few countries in Eastern Asia, and all of Europe. And Europe kind of became the focal point just from the sense that it was the most fiscally reasonable, and it's closer to home. I mean, if I had to get home for, a holiday or for an unfortunate event of some sort, it's not too challenging, COVID aside. But yeah, I mean, even within Europe, there's so many countries that have a lot to offer, not only to students, but, to professionals in general. So that process it wasn't an easy choice by any means. I think what really set Ireland apart, from a business perspective at least, is just the fact that Dublin has so many multinational companies with headquarters there just because of the low corporate tax rate. And I think that Smurfit has really capitalized on Dublin's repositioning as a global hub of commerce by offering students a lot of networking opportunities, career fairs, and just to have access to these big companies that cover a wide range of industries, I think is really key. So, and alongside that, just I've had great experiences with the staff at UCD. Everyone I've talked to is really friendly. And once I got into my program, it was kind of a no-brainer of a choice. So,
awesome. Yeah, and I think when you talk about Ireland's positioning as a global hub for business. I think that's always something that really excites people that are coming over. They know the culture. A lot of people have Irish roots or Irish background, but I think especially from a business perspective, for such a small country, it really does kind of punch above its weight in terms of the amount of multinational corporations there, but also the amount of startups that are kind of coming up in a variety of sectors. So really, both ends of the spectrum are pretty well represented there. So that's really exciting. I know you were kind of talking a little bit at the start about it being obviously during a pandemic, and that kind of adding a little bit of complications for going abroad and kind of continuing your education. So why do you think now is a good time to pursue graduate education? Do you think for any students that are, prospective students that are watching this, that are mulling, maybe taking a year out from their job to go back to school, do you think now is a really good time to pursue graduate education, especially internationally?
Yeah, I think there's really no bad time to pursue a graduate degree. I mean, the benefits have always been there. It gives you a broader knowledge of, whatever subject area that you're looking at, and really jumpstarts your career in general. But, as the world recovers from the economic impact of COVID, I think that the job market has never been more competitive as things start to open up again, and just with what we've learned over the last 16 months, companies are really looking for what sets certain candidates apart. So I think by going abroad, I mean, not only because I have been able to for the last year and a half or so, I just think coupling that desire to go abroad with what can set me apart as I really grow in my professional career, I think that this created a really good opportunity for me and for everyone else. It's a risk either way, but I think people are ready to take those risks after being shut in for the last year and a half or so. But yeah, I think COVID definitely has changed a lot of the ways that we do things and has caused people to really reevaluate what they want to do long term.
Absolutely. Well, and you mentioned a little bit earlier on, just in terms of the career aspect, career connectivity that Smurfit provides. So for students that are coming over for their 1-year graduate degree, they automatically get a 2-year stay back working visa. So it's obviously coming over for a degree, but if you wanted to work abroad and expand your network even further, there's a lot of great opportunities in Dublin and in Ireland and further afield, just by taking that 1 year out to do your course overall.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for me too. I mean, my program is client facing, so having that opportunity or that at least that option to stay with a network of mine that'll be heavily European, I think is key to give me some flexibility.
Yeah, and perfect segue talking about your program. So your program is a little bit different from some of our other courses in that it is a very like you said, client-facing, very action-based learning type course. So I'm wondering if you could, kind of give a little bit of an overview of what the marketing practice is, and maybe why you decided to apply for this course as opposed to maybe a more traditional marketing course overall.
Yeah, of course. So the MSc in Marketing Practice, which is also known as the MDP or Marketing Development Practice, it's a 1-year master's course that is client-facing, like you said, and just really revolves around the idea of action learning. Fortunately enough, we are able to work with a wide range of companies, from small startups to larger multinational companies, covering the entire spectrum of marketing operations. For me, the hands-on nature and exposure to each facet of marketing really suits my learning style. That experience and the network I'll hopefully acquire as a result, really gives me a chance to, like I said earlier, set myself apart from, the competition as I graduate. But more importantly, this program alone is really what set UCD Smurfit apart from the dozen or so other schools that I had applied to outside of Ireland. So it was kind of like I had really been leaning towards Ireland after I'd done a lot more research, but this was kind of the last, okay, if I get into this program, as daunting as it seems, it will be a very, very easy choice.
Nice. And so, as you're kind of looking at the course overall, you will have a good mix of lectures and, client-facing work as well, right? So it's not just an application course. You will have that kind of background academic knowledge, rooted throughout the course. Is that right?
Yeah. So we use what we learn in those seminars and those one-off classes to kind of tailor our ability to implement, holistic marketing strategies. So learning and doing at the same time, at least for me, is the best way to really grow my knowledge of marketing, but also be able to gain experience. I've been in work mode for the last year, having been in DC. So not losing touch with that routine, I think, is also really important, but I also want to get a degree as well. So it was really the best of both worlds.
Perfect, perfect. And as you're kind of getting ready, so we're recording this obviously end of July. You have a few weeks left before you fly out. Are you able to connect with current students or recent alum that have kind of gotten you ready, gotten you excited for that transition over to campus?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, even before I had applied to the program, Harriet and the staff on the MDP has been really, really assertive in terms of reaching out to us and kind of giving us the information we need, allowing us to ask a lot of questions, which I think is great. And even after being accepted, they've been very good about contacting us and really getting us excited to join the program. And it seems like even in a strange year that the current program has had with the pandemic and such, they've really made the most of it and enjoyed themselves, which makes me very excited to see what we can do in what will hopefully be a somewhat more normal year. But yeah, I feel very, very confident in my decision just based on what I've seen from the current program and the staff. So I hope that we can be a resource to the next class the same way they've been a resource to us.
Perfect. And as you're talking about being a resource for future students, if you were to talk to someone today who was kind of thinking about possibly going abroad for a graduate degree, what kind of tips or tricks, advice would you give to that person in terms of where to start looking, what kind of questions to ask, as they're starting to consider their international degree options moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think you got to be pragmatic about it first. It's a big decision either way. So asking yourselves questions like, how is it going to benefit me? Is it fiscally reasonable? What could my life look like after? How is going international going to complement my learning that I could get at home? But if it's something you really want to do and those questions that you ask yourself don't give you a reason not to do it, I think that thinking about that, the best advice I received after kind of considering those questions is, do you want to look back on this and wonder why you didn't do it and think about what your life could be like had you not turned away from that opportunity? Or would you rather take the risk, a calculated risk, take advantage of this opportunity and not wish that you had, So I'm somebody that by nature is pretty risk averse. So hearing that kind of put me in the right direction, I think, when it came to taking advantage of this. So just, you don't want to be, 30 years old, maybe settled down in a role you don't love, wondering what things would have been like had you made the other decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, when you're talking about the experience overall, I think we obviously talk a lot about the academics and about the program, and then ultimately, the careers and the networks and, professional opportunities that you get. But you also have to be excited to be in a new place, to immerse yourself in a new culture, meet new people from around the world, and get excited about that. You're going to be in probably one of the coolest countries in the world, and Dublin is such a fun, young, dynamic city that there's just always something going on. So I think people get maybe a little bogged down in the details sometimes of, okay, what course am I going to apply for? And, what's my end role, or, what's the career path that's going to take me down, without kind of thinking about, the added life experiences that they're going to get along the way, which, if you're talking to employers, they want to know, where have you been? Who have you met? What kind of rich, diverse life experiences have you had that have brought you to this point? So that's always, kind of an added layer to it as well for students that are abroad.
Yeah, I think that's half the experience, is the learning you'll do outside the classroom. I mean, not only will you be learning a lot about a new culture, but also just you're going to grow a lot yourself. I think that immersing yourself in something completely new will give you a lot of confidence. It'll, like I said earlier, challenge you to think a lot differently and hopefully change your worldview. I think that somebody that might stay in their country for their entire life, it's not a bad thing, but being open to these new experiences and kind of changing the way you think, I think is part of that constant ability to grow, which I think is really important. I'm somebody that I don't like being complacent at all. So I'm really looking forward to having that new dynamic of living somewhere else. I think that'll really hopefully change me like long term in a good way.
All right, so I want to focus a little bit more on your specific program. So the MSc in marketing practice. You mentioned that you've been doing a lot of communication with your incoming class, and that the program office has been really great in connecting you all. So I'm wondering, could you, share a little bit more about, how many students there are in the class, where they're coming from? Are all the students, are they all business students? Are they all marketing students? Or does it seem like people are coming from a pretty wide, diverse background?
Yeah, so in terms of our class makeup, I think there's around 35 of us total. I haven't met everybody. We have a group chat with a decent amount of the incoming advisors. As far as I know, there's 2 Americans, 2 students from India, and then the rest of it is Irish. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But in terms of background, I don't know everyone's background. It seems somewhat heavily business, but I know the prior classes makeups have been pretty diverse. Anything from music to fashion, and things that are completely unrelated to business. And I think the one nice thing about our program is that in our industry, you're going to be working with people that aren't marketing, that don't have a marketing brain, So for us that have done marketing in the past, learning how to tailor our communication style to people that might not understand it on the level that we do, but still get our point across. And then for people that don't have a business background that are joining the program, being able to learn by doing, I think will really bring them up to speed on the industry, and will kind of set us all on the same level playing field. So I think we have a lot to learn from each other, which is obviously mutually beneficial. And just the whole makeup of the program, in terms of you're going to be working in teams with people that are from another country or have a different educational background. I mean, even within Ireland, it's a small place, but culturally it's pretty diverse. So I think everyone's going to have a chance to really challenge themselves outside of just the academic realm of the program.
Absolutely. And so when you're saying that, there's 2 other Americans and maybe just a few other non-Irish students, is that something that you were maybe a little nervous about when you're coming into the program, to be one of very few US students? Or is that something that, you're really excited about, and you want to get out, get outside of your comfort zone and be with people from around the world?
Oh, definitely the latter. I think I have a desire to really be more cultured, honestly. Yeah, it makes me really excited. I think, like I said, not only within our program, but in all of Smurfit, it's a very diverse business school, and really taking advantage of the opportunity to work with people from all around the world. Not only is good for my professional career moving forward, but is also just good in the sense of I'll learn a lot more about other people, and can really grow from that, and maybe appreciate what I have while also being able to appreciate each other's differences, which I think really promotes growth on all ends.
Absolutely. And, even for students not doing the marketing practice course, there's kind of 2 main ways of, meeting people from outside your program, or, meeting people from maybe outside your home country. So we have the Global Leadership Program and the Intercultural Development Program as well. So, obviously you're going to get really close with the people in your cohort, in your course.
Mm-hmm.
But then, there's also those kind of 2 additional ways, amongst many other ways, of getting involved in the community, meeting people from different programs, and definitely different countries as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we're kind of in the last few weeks before you fly over. How are you feeling? What are you looking forward to the most? Maybe, what are you nervous about? What's kind of going through your head as we're, coming to kind of the last few weeks in the States before you fly over to Dublin?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I wouldn't say I'm nervous for anything over there. I mean, there's always fear of the unknown, and maybe I have this preconceived notion that things are gonna be perfect and it's not gonna be challenging at all, which obviously is wrong. But I'm kind of still in that like honeymoon phase of, oh my God, it's gonna be amazing, which it will be.
Yeah.
But no, I think I'm just looking forward. I don't know. That's a hard choice, but just the general mix of learning. I really enjoy being in the classroom and learning things, and just having that complemented with the whole new cultural aspect of things. I think will be a really, really good experience for me in general. I feel like I haven't even thought about it much. I have so much to do before I fly out here in a few
Yeah,
weeks, but all good things. I have a whole countdown going and everything, so I'm really, really pumped.
nice. And you're going to be living off campus, correct?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. I'm living with a family, which I never thought I would. I never thought I would do a homestay, but it just worked out really well. I'll be living with a family with kids my age, which is going to be really fun and kind of gives you um, the home life of Ireland kind of experience, which I think will be really cool. And also, having some semblance of family as an international student could avoid any homesickness. Not that I anticipate getting homesick, but you never know. And
Yeah.
um, it'll be a really, really good arrangement, I think.
And probably the best way just to immerse yourself in Irish culture. So
Oh,
that
for
sounds
sure,
awesome. Yeah.
for sure.
Um, well, Joey, I think that's all the questions I have at this time. So again, thank you for taking the time out of your day. We're really excited to have you on campus, obviously, and this is just the first of many student testimonials we're going to be doing with you. So we're excited to see your journey as you go through the MSc in marketing practice, as well as how your time in Ireland and on campus in Smurfit plays out over the next year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.